Welcome to Below the Belt, episode 100. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your listens, downloads, and reviews of the first 100 episodes of this podcast. Today's podcast is with Journeyman fighter Johnny Greaves, who famously had 100 fights throughout his career, and so we thought it was apt that he could grace our 100th episode. Johnny called us on his phone that day. It was via Skype, so his audio does drop out a little bit. His phone, I imagine, was working very hard to speak to both me and Paul that day, Paul Zanon that day. It was recorded a few weeks ago, so there's no mention of the passing of Marvin Hagler or the Estrada Chocolatito fight, which took place last night as I'm recording this. We will be discussing both of those on episode 101. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy this. It's Below the Belt. You're used to me jumping straight in with the episode number, and it's a special episode number today. It's episode 100. And normally not every episode, but a lot of the episodes, when I talk about the episode number, I'll say episode 40. Well, that was Mayweather Marquez. Or episode 86, I'll talk about Julio Cesar Chavez. Today's episode 100, and there's not many people that you'd associate with the number 100 more than this man that we have on the line today. Johnny Greaves, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, good to go. Actually, looking forward to speaking. Obviously, it's still nice to be asked about the career. So yeah, I love doing this sort of stuff. So it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for your time today, Johnny. A lot of people that are listening at home will know you for the BT 2013 documentary called Cornered, which covered your career, but also leading up to your 100th and your final fight. A lot of people know you from that. They'll also know you from the book Journeyman, which I know you've got some exciting news about that book perhaps being turned into a film that you was going to tell us about. Just for the people at home that perhaps don't understand, what is a journeyman?
Look, basically, have gloves, will travel. A lot of people think that you do. A lot of people are under the misconception you're there to lose, which is, to be fair, it's not 100% how it happens. Look, basically, you got boys that are training for 6-8 weeks, whatever it is, training, peaking up for a fight. We get a phone call with a few days' notice. I mean, who wants their ticket seller to be having an equal fight? At the end of the day, it's a business as much as it's a sport. It's not just that. I mean, we stepped in. The very nature of the game is you get injuries, pull-outs. If you get a pull-out on the day of the guy who's top of the bill, it's either cancel the show, the undercard don't go ahead, the whole show don't go ahead. A lot of people lose a lot of money, or you phone up a few guys that are guaranteed to sort of, at the end of the day, put the money on the table. And I'll fight Floyd Mayweather at a couple of hours' notice if you pay me enough money. Now, I don't say that so much in all seriousness. To be fair, for the sort of money they'd pay for a Floyd Mayweather fight, I would say 100% I'd probably get me boots on and fighting right now. And I'm not saying that to sound cocky or. At the end of the day, I'm a working class guy. A pound note's a pound note. I'd fight Floyd Mayweather literally an hour's notice. And you can take my word for that. Floyd, if you're there, mate, let's get it on, pal.
Well, he's doing all these exhibitions these days, and you've
got. Well, surely I've got to be a bit better than Jake Paul. I mean, let's go for it.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I may ask you about that a little bit later on, about what you feel about all these YouTubers and stuff like that, because it's an interesting thing, and it's an interesting topic for people to talk about. In terms of like when you started out in your career, do you think becoming, and I'm going to do the quotation fingers up in the air for people at home, was like becoming like a journeyman fighter, if you like, was that like a business decision more than a sport?
No, look. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I turned pro extremely late. I mean, I think even my amateur trainers, Dave Launder, Ricky Barras, would tell you. I was actually a talented fighter. I had a hell of a lot of natural ability. Unfortunately, I never lived any sort of life resembling a fighter. I loved the drink. I loved the nightclub. I loved a bird. I loved a fag. I loved a Jamaican woodbine. I know it's to be fair. Look, I did say I'm not going to hold back. There's nothing I'll say here that isn't truth. Because if I lied about it and said that I lived a life, my mates would go, "You lying bastard." So to be fair, it was exactly what it was. Now, well, I'd probably go into when I met Carl Greaves, the rest of the story. But look, it was a question of term pro, because I could have gone in as a ticket seller. I mean, I could sell a ticket in the unlicensed. I had 50 unlicensed fights for a term pro. I could sell a good ticket, but it was always a massive pain in the arse. I can't lie. Everybody wants 10 tickets until it's actually time to pay for them. So when Cole said to me, look, I'm sorry that put on the accent. Look, Johnny, we'll do it in 2 ways. Right? So it's either go in there, sell a minimum of 100 tickets for money. I was earning better money on a licensed game. I won't lie. Right. It took me by surprise. I thought turning pro, I thought I'd be earning decent cash. Don't get me wrong, it was better than a good week's wages on the building site, but it wasn't nowhere near what I expected. So anyway, I said, look, Cole, let me have a little think about it, and I'll give you a ring back. So I was put the phone. I had a little chat with my partner Vicky, and I was still a bit unsure. Anyway, literally, it must have been 10, 15 minutes later. Cole phoned me back, and he said, "Look, Johnny, we've just been offered a fight for you against Rob Hunt, up in, I think that was Middlesbrough or something like that, wherever it was. It was guaranteed per. I won't say exactly what it was, but it was a hell of a lot more money I was earning on a building site at the time. The day after, whatever it was, look, Rob was 6 or 7-0 when I boxed him as a pro. Rob's still going now. Rob Hunt's a good fighter. But I thought, you know what? I was already 30 years old. Like my son had just been born, Teddy. I didn't have a lot of work on. I mean, back then I was just, jobbing about, painting and decorating, a bit of labouring, whatever I would sort of get stuck into. So it was getting there, fight, guaranteed wage, no ticket sales. So I thought I'll go for it. That's the way I'm going to go. So it was 100% as an opponent from day one. It just seemed the easier way for me to go. No messing about selling tickets. Just get there, fight, get paid, come home. Yeah. Happy days. I was good for that.
No stress of selling the tickets. No stress of that. You just turn up and fight. I should say to everybody at home that we're also joined by Paul Zanon, who put all this together for us. Hello, Paul. How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. I'm surrounded by great company. I've got an incredible host by yourself, Callum, and Johnny Greaves, boxing royalty, and a top fella. He's always got a little joke. In under 30 seconds, you speak to Johnny Greaves. I guarantee you, if he hasn't got you smiling or laughing, he either doesn't like you or he's having a really good time. But the man always makes you laugh.
I appreciate that.
He's a top man. I just want to add there from what you were saying. When you fought against Rob Hunt at the Eastern Sports Academy at Middlesbrough on the 9th of June, 2007, at the age of 30. By the end of that year, so just looking at the number of fights you had there, you had 8 fights by the end of 2007. Let me just roll off a few details there, because the other thing as well, people think, Journeyman fighter, not really fighting names of note or whatever else. Let me just let the listeners have a little taster of the sort of people you were in with. 3rd fight, Jamie Cox. 3 fights later, Anthony Crolla. The fight straight after that, Lee Purdy. The fight straight after that, Darren Hamilton. I mean, as we start to go through, we're going to start to notice there's a load of world champions, a load of British champions there you're fighting against.
Yeah, I think Carl Greaves didn't like me, I'm sure of it.
Mate. So I guess, coming back to the, your career, which is just, it's incredible as well, because if you look at it, it's only about 6 years and 100 fights. So to get that many number of fights within that time frame, surely there would have been quite a number of last minute calls for you to fight someone. Yeah. What are the most memorable ones that you've ever had? I mean, has it been a case of you're literally there? Because it's no secret that you like a fag and a beer. Was it a case of you were literally holding one of each, and next thing a phone call came in?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, literally that. I mean, one day I remember coming up, we used to train down the Peacock Gym on a Saturday morning. I remember going up, I'd done six rounds of hard sparring with Ryan Taylor. Don't know if you remember Ryan. I think he challenged for a Southern Area title. Now, Ryan, we're good mates, Ryan. But when we was sparring, Ryan was quite heavy-handed. There was no holding back. So it was guaranteed 6 rounds of punching lumps out of each other. I remember coming home from the gym maybe 12, 1 o'clock. So out the shower, dossing about, can of Foster's opened. That one gone. So up, another can opened. I had a phone call from, I'm sure it was Tunde Ajayi phoned me up because I think he was training or doing a lot of training with Ryan Walsh at the time down the Peacock Gym. That was about 3 o'clock. So agreed terms, and I was in the ring and fighting at the XL in Docklands at about
6:30. Unbelievable.
There was that. There was another one. I mean, with Jody Meekle's another top journeyman, top lad. I was supposed to be doing Jody's corner down at York Hall, but I hadn't already got my corner licence. So we turned up. I think it was a Mick Elliott show. I turned up to do Jody off for 5 o'clock. So I mean, Mickey come running out. What are you weighing, Johnny? I went 10-4, 10-5. He went, do you want to fight? Do me a right favour. I went, yeah, obviously, what you're paying, like. So I think that was against, what's his name now? Lovely lad. There's another name I didn't write down earlier, but York. So probably at the time I remember running out of the York Hall, phoning my missus up. So look, Vic, I need me boots, my shorts and my gum shield. Now, I'm fighting tonight now, so meet me at Chabberley Station, boots, shorts, gum shield. So straight off the train, run up the stairs, she meets me at the barrier, comes back, runs back on the train, back to York, all good, I'm on in about an hour and a half's time. Now, going through the bag, she's got me boots, she's got me shorts, no gum shield. So lucky, I know Ian Burbage was there, who had another fighter on. Obviously, every pro fight you've got to have a spare gum shield. So unfortunately, I think the guy was a middle heavyweight, something like that. All right, so borrow his spare gum shield, stick it in a bit of boiling water, clean it up a bit, get in there, fight. All happy days. So you get a punch in the mouth in the first round. Unfortunately, now my front railing was now stuck into my borrow gum shield. Oh. So the money I actually earned from the fight, I sort of had to pay the next day to get a false suit put in, which was a bit of a nose, to be honest, a bit of a bummer. But yeah, again, it's another memory, something to laugh about. I do remember coming back because I hadn't looked at myself in the mirror while I was at York Hall. Obviously, just got paid, come home. I remember coming home, getting back, looking at myself in the mirror, like open that up, and I had a big gap in the front of my tooth, and I just thought, I could have cried. It looks awful. I look like I'd just been, I look like I'd just come from some crack den somewhere. It weren't a good look, so unfortunately, what I earned, I had to pay sort of over half it the next day to get myself an emergency tooth fitted in. But so many times you get on the day before. Again, the people aren't going to give you too much notice because you might come there, try and train up to a bit of a peak and come and try to win. It's not in anybody's interest. So
yeah.
at the end of the day, look, you get the winning fight. The home fighter has got plenty of time to go out. You know, obviously he needs time to get out, get his tickets sold. Obviously, you know, on the right hand side of the bill was TBA to be announced. Purely and simply because give it a week or something to go, you can ring round, you know, the usual journeyman. You know, the people that say yes, pick yourself one out of a few. Happy days, job's on. The homeboy's got a win. The away boy's got paid and he's gone home, and that's the way it is. That was the way the business worked.
Yeah. We had a conversation last night, and you said when you got off the phone, your missus kind of dug you out a bit for talking. And when you was telling the story about how she brought your kit down to the fight, I thought she's a bloody good press officer, but not much of a corner woman.
Look, to be fair, look, she wasn't impressed, Vicky, but she knew what I used to do. I mean, to be fair, obviously she had to listen to me, and it'd be so many phone calls and talking to family and friends, and he'd explain. You know, a lot of people would ask you, you know, like, fucking hell, John, you've had 60 fights, mate. You've won 2, whatever the record was then.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so you have to sort of educate people how the game works, to sort of stop people thinking you're a bit of a, you know, at the end of the day, what's he doing boxing for? The geezer's obviously rubbish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously,
one question I was going to ask is this: is that I've, you know, all three of us have been around sport boxing for many years. You've been actually in it. You've been in the ring from that side. But one thing from ringside that I've always noticed is when watching the Journeyman, is the defence is just simply incredible. That ability, just be able to slide a punch, do a shoulder roll, to be able to lean back, the sneaky little lean backs that sort of stop that full force coming in. I've often wondered, because the thing about sort of clocking up that many fights, like you're saying, you've got the financial stability of having a regular fight. I've often wondered, though, what it would be like if there would be a journeyman competition where, like, all the journeymen absolutely go for it, and you know, there's a big prize at the end of it, to actually let them see with their hands let loose, because most of the time you guys are sort of doing a phenomenal job. It's the reason you're able to stay there for 100 fights, and the likes of Jamie Spate was at 300, etc., and you know, all these other incredible journeymen. But if there was to be a journeyman competition, I would love to see that, because in the same way you're able to defend, I know for a fact there's some journeymen out there which can really smack, and that could make for great viewing.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's on the internet history. I mean, there was a big thing quite a few years ago now, and I was a big trying to get it going. There was a German prize fight, so when prize fight was still going, and that was exactly my argument. Now, I spoke to quite a few of the other journeymen. We was all mates. Now, I know personally, and a lot of the other boys' mindset, look, I don't mind winning against the next flying machine, or losing against the next flying machine, or Jamie Cox's Anthony Quarrels of this world. But if you would have put us in with 7 other regular John, I wanted to win that. Obviously, you know, it's weird. It's like, I don't know if it's the right word, oxymoron, but look, we was there to lose, but I still wanted to be known as the best journeyman out there.
Right.
I don't know if oxymoron's the right word.
No, I think yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. You understand what I mean.
Yeah, we're with you.
I used to have
Johnny's got the listeners jumping onto Google now, checking out definitions of words.
But I had on the back of my old T-shirt, Johnny Greaves, Britain's #1 journeyman, which, to be fair, due to a few different reasons, I believed I was. Not just purely and simply boxing-wise, but I entertained crowds. Look, I'd only shuffle. I'd be talking to the crowd during the fight. I'll be tickling his nuts and, you know, sticking my tongue out to the crowd behind his back. Now, I was doing that before quite a few of the other guys was. Me and Jodie Meekle always have a little bit of a laugh about it, because I always say to Jodie, son, I taught you everything you know, because Jodie was well known to be, that was Jodie's party piece as well in the end. But Jodie, if you do watch it, mate, I taught you everything you know, son. So it was, look, look, why, I mean, look, the way I see it was, look, the lads, look, there's a 95% chance I'm going to lose here. And again, no names whatsoever, but some of the Journeyman's performances, it was a little bit like watching paint dry. You know, you could be really good at defence and slipping, unless you're actually looking out for that sort of thing. For the average Joe that goes to watch a boxing show, to them it's like watching paint dry. I enjoy that sort of thing because that's what I was looking out for. I used to look at boys doing this before I turned pro, and I used to admire it. But I'd try to give something a little bit different in there. You know, there'd be times I'll grip my teeth. I'd like to have a bit of a punch up, and I'd like to step in front of these guys or walk to them rather than bouncing away from them all the time. I used to sort of play it a different way, and I'd like to think some of my fights, I know for a fact the amount of people that come up to me and said, you know what, your fight was by far the most entertaining fight on that entire bill. And that was quite a regular occurrence, to be honest. It wasn't like a one-off. I had to come and have a go and to be against the lads that wasn't quite future world-class British champions, where I could sort of stand, let my hands go, not make a bit of a mug of myself, but make it competitive. I did make it competitive. It wasn't a complete on the back foot all the way through, lose points without a mark on my face, get home, get paid, go home, go again next week. I tried to have a little bit more grit your teeth. I used to be fair, again, sorry to go on, but in my documentary, Frank could tell you, my brother, I suffered a hell of a lot, still do to this day, with a bit of depression, low self-esteem. Sometimes I just go in for a fight. I felt like, you know, I could have behaved a bit of a dick in the week with a few work decisions or whatever it is, and just feel, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to go in and have a go. If I get knocked out, I'll get knocked out, and I'm not too fussed. If I get hurt, as bad as it sounds, I understand how bad it sounds, because boxing people do get hurt. And I've got kids and I've got a missus that I love and loves me. But certain points in my career, I didn't really care if I would have come home or not. You know, it's quite an upsetting thing for me to say, but that is an absolute fact, that I turn up to one or two of the fights I had, that, you know what, I was half hoping that I'd get injured. And that sounds bad, and I can see your face there where I just said that. But that was me. That was Johnny Greaves. I was a bit of a plank. I had wore my heart on my sleeve. Then I still do now. You know, I don't hold much back. Is that a fault? Maybe so, but it is what it is. I can't be someone else.
Yeah, no, we all have our faults, and it was interesting to me watching the documentary you mentioned and this was 8 years ago. The documentary, we have to remember, and now mental health is spoken about really freely. Everybody talks about it now. Everybody's open about it. This was 2013, 8 years ago. It's not a million years ago, but it's still a little while. And you were really, really quite open about the mental health issues you had. Was that hard to do?
It was. I mean, that which is why me and Adam Dark, who actually made the film, now me and Adam, we're good mates now. If I've got any sort of problems, I'm struggling with mentally, or just need. I found Adam. Adam's a good man, and Adam doing that documentary sort of helped me find myself in a way. I think even one or two of my family or close friends didn't realise how I felt at the time, in terms of depression and low self-esteem, and just Points to some points I was going for a bit of a rough time, and if I would have done in the ring, I know it sounds an awful thing to say. I understand that, I get it. If that upsets anyone watching it, or people get a bit pissed off thinking I'm just talking about it without being serious, I can assure you're wrong. I went through a bit of a rough time in my career and filming Corner, the documentary, which is why Corner, to be fair, is probably one of the best things I ever did, because it allowed me to be able to open up to a lot of people and sort of open up myself the way I was feeling, but then I think the point that Frank would tell you, my thing was, I'm alright, fuck it was easy enough, you know what I mean? I'll come home from some fights in serious pain, but I couldn't show that, obviously. It'd be, I'm alright, do the same again next week. So doing Corner for me was something that, like I say, I'm watching it now, I cry. I don't watch it regularly. Obviously, it's got my dad in it that died only a few months ago. So, but as well as dad being in it, obviously the depression things and my family talking about it, it's extremely hard for me to watch.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand that. You said earlier on about you had some unlicensed fights before you turned pro. Yeah. I'm just interested for people perhaps that don't know about unlicensed boxing. Yeah. What's the difference? What's the obviously they're not sanctioned by the board, but what's the main difference?
They're not sanctioned by the board. I mean, I think a few of the guys that are boxing now unlicensed, some good, decent pros. Funny enough, I'll go for a couple of names if you want me to. But look, the rings was tiny. Back then there was still smoking in the smoking allowed in the certain tavern and some of these halls and that the old place of box at. So you get out the ring there, you felt like you smoked 40 snouts time you get out. Obviously, look, you wouldn't have to go looking for an opponent in there. It's literally take one step back on the ropes, take another step forward, and you're sort of on their chest. Lads like Lee Purdy, Tom Glover, Leo O'Reilly, Matty Leonard. I mean, Matty Leonard himself was another ex-pro, if you look through Box Rec. Now, Matty Leonard, because I was in my first 8, 9, 10, even over 10 fights, I was unbeaten in the unlicensed game. And I boxed Matty Leonard for the British title. Now, I remember going to, I think it was Watford, our first one. Mate, I remember coming out and throwing 3 or 4 of the best punches I've ever thrown in all through my amateur and unlicensed career. Bang on the chin with Matty. I think he'd already boxed pro back then. Matt just looked at me and went, is all you fucking got? Like something along them lines. Mate, it was the first time ever boxing or fighting. It wasn't much boxing, it was fighting. And to be honest with you, if I hadn't have gone through that experience fighting Matty, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would have been strong enough or if I had the mental strength to go in against some of the men as a pro, because Matt, it is the first big lesson that, like I say, you're not boxing in sort of big gloves and a head guard against young kids point scoring. You're in against a man that literally wants to take your head off your shoulders. And Matt did. Matt was a vicious little git. It's a pucker lesson to have, like, you know what I mean? It's one of them that really teaches you in this game. This is serious stuff.
Yeah. Paul,
Johnny, I'll just say, sorry, Cal. I remember 2007 and 2008 going to see a few matches at the Circus Tavern. It was Alan Mortlock, I think it was organised.
Yes, it was. And Alan was my man.
There we go. Yeah, lovely guy. I was working for a charity at the time, and he was helping to organise funds for it. But for me, one of the most memorable things was not just the people. I mean, the people in the ring wanted to take each other's head off, but the fans for each one of those fighters wanted to take all the other fans' heads off as well. So you kind of
well,
the result was going to be done in good spirit, because if it was a bad result or the two fighters kicked off in the ring,
I remember one. Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I just remember my memories were there was a fight in a car park with probably about 300 people afterwards, and then inside the actual Circus Tavern as well. It was like, again, another one kicked off, and I to be honest, I probably remember those fights outside the ring. I do more inside the ring, but you're right. I mean, I do remember Mark Tibbs did an exhibition bout for the charity I was with at the time, and Martin Bowers was in the corner. I'm not sure if you were there as well, but I just remember looking at the ring thinking, was that a kid ring or something?
It's like
yeah.
Well, me and Lee Purdy had a proper ding dong in there years ago. I boxed him twice as a pro as well, Lee. Now Lee, I think before he boxed me unlicensed, I don't know, about 6-7, but he all first round knockouts. So Lee was a powerful little fucker, he really was. So fighting in there with Lee, it was like I've got it on tape downstairs, and it was a proper battle. It was a proper ding dong night of a fight. And there was a few of the ones I had now unlicensed, which was real fights, like hard fights. I mean, there was other ones which was, I remember coming out, Alan Monklock, bless his soul. We had a show. He had a show in Cardiff. I think Cardiff Coal Exchange was a bit of a rough old place back then. And I remember boxing the Welsh lad there. I think he was quite a popular lad. So Alan thought it'd be a good idea to wrap me in a St George cross on the way to the ring.
Right.
Which you can imagine that went down like a lead balloon. And then I got the win as well. So I remember coming out after that fight there, literally head down, hoodie over the top of your head, out the back of the motor, and it was gone. Like, get out of here now, sharpish, before I get topped. It was a nightmare. But that was part and parcel of the unlicensed game, and that was how it was. I mean, we had a few little trips up to Wales. I can't remember if I'm boxing Ireland on the unlicensed, but a few up north. So it was quite a lot of them was a little bit airy for being a. I mean, look, I used to go to a lot of these shows. Back then, I didn't really have a trainer.
Yeah.
I didn't in my first. Well, there was a period, a quite long period in my pro career. I was just trained on my own, to be fair. I don't know whether you asked me a question like that, but in the first 20 fights as a pro, I think 16, 20 tops, I was with turned pro with Jason Rowland. Things were going all right. Don't get me wrong, even then it was only the big TV shows and stuff. I'll be with Jason. I had a lot of trips up north. I was on my own. And then when me and Jason parted ways, I never got to with Frank, my brother, until I'd had 50 or 60 fights. He used to help me a little bit with training and stuff, but for a large portion of my career, I was travelling. So you go to a place like Sunderland, whatever. You get there, I'll get a train up on my own, make your way to the venue. You walk through, say, mate, you see a few trainers in there wake on, look, mate, I'll give you a drink and you do me corner. So, look, I sit there, specifically, I say, look, I don't want no advice. I don't want no tactics. All I want basically is leave me gumshoe, but all I want is a drink of water, send me back out. If I'm in trouble, don't stop the fucking fight, mate. I'm out again next week. So it was a question of, look, just give me, all I want from you is a drink of water, and the board thinks someone's sitting, so I've got a trainer with me. But then it'll be after that, like I say, fight will be over, I'll go get my own money, do my own stuff, make my way back to the train station, get a train back to London with a nice pocket full of cash. Happy days, like that was the way I enjoyed it. That was the way I liked it, to be fair. I used to love times like that. Even a few times, like there was another fight, Gavin Rees. I remember boxing Gavin Rees. I think that was about 15 or 16 hours notice. Gavin had just lost his world title to Suleiman and Bailly, I think it was, who beat him for his world title. I'm sure it was Suleiman and Bailly. Late pull out, they was ringing round, everyone couldn't get an opponent. I gets the phone call and think, do you know what? Look, I knew Gavin, not on a personal level as friends, but I knew Gavin through. I've always been a massive boxing fan. I knew the level of fighter Gavin was, and do you know what? I thought, I used to love a test. There's not a single fighter on the planet I wouldn't have boxed against. So to get a phone call to fight against a world champion, mate, I jumped all over it. It was fucking brilliant. 16 hours notice. I remember getting paid fucking good money for what I was doing. Good money. So boxed Gavin. I remember coming out. Gavin had quite a big wealth support there. Now I come in there, I was taking the piss, mate, to be honest. Yeah. I'm alley shuffling. I'm literally talking to the crowd, doing the big wind-up polo shots and stuff. I'm literally shouting things out to the crowd during the fight. Mate, these people, I'm sure they probably want to kill me or thinking, this geezer's gone in here, this geezer's mental. I think even on the documentary, Gavin was saying, like, you know, what have I got to do to get this kid out of here? Yeah. But I let my hands go and we had a good fight. We come back. I think Greaves met me up there. Basically, look, my eye was closing, so there's only one round. He goes, look, I'm pulling you out. Looking back now, look, it was by far the right decision. But look, back then, so I got my way about a 5-minute walk back to Newport train station. Straight up, mate, I had a good few grand in my pocket. So I sat on that train. I looked like I'd just been gang jumped by about 10 fellas. My face was a proper mess. But I remember sitting there, literally, got a nice few grand in my back pocket. Mate, I got on the lash on that train home and I was like, fucking happy days. I had plenty of space because no one would sit near me because I look like some sort of lunatic, like, you know. Yeah. I've got all blood on my face is sort of twice the size of what it should have been. But I was like that, you know what I mean? I loved it. It was one night's work. 24 hours ago, I didn't know I was going to have this fight. Didn't know I was going to have this money. Next minute, you know, I'm sort of a couple of hours away from King's Cross at London, pocket full of cash. And I was like, that fucking brilliant. I loved it. I loved that buzz of it. I loved it.
Happy days.
Just say, it's obviously we're going to go through some of the key fights in a minute, but you can really get that sense of euphoria you're talking about. You know, the memories you're going through. You can tell you're buzzing as you're going through that. Do you miss boxing?
But I miss it like the desert miss the rain. Honestly, if I could go back fight tomorrow, I would do, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, let's just going through some of the key fights. You mentioned about world champions in there. Obviously, Gavin Rees is a head down absolute pit bull of a fight, but he's not the only world champion that you fought. We got Anthony Crolla. We got a lot of guys who fought world titles as well that you went for. I'm not even going to start the number of fighters that you were up against who became British champions. We can maybe sort of touch upon those in a minute. But in terms of the world champions that you fought, who was the toughest?
I think that there's four there. Rees, Crolla, Johan Perez, I think won a WBA interim, and there's another guy there as well. I'll think of it and be discussed. I forgot it in a minute, but I know there's four altogether who won world titles. To be fair, Perez was a cracking fighter. And he was probably one of the single heaviest-handed guys I'd ever been in a square circle with. He was ridiculously hard hitting. Now I remember again veering, but I remember the first bell going. I was right near my corner. I had my cousin Jason Fielding and Frank Greaves in the corner, my brother. I remember the first jab landing. You know, it makes a different sort of thud. Made a different sound than nearly every shot I've ever been hit with. And I can remember actually hearing in my ear on my brother and Jason going, "Oh!" And I went, "Fuck off, boys. I'm the one who's been, you know what I mean?" I'm thinking, fuck, I need you too, don't I? And I'll always remember, and there's another like thing. I always take the piss out of Jason because Jason had just started the corner work then, and he said to me, I remember shouting out, "Try and stay out the way." And I went, "Fucking you sure or what?" Like, try and stay out the way. I thought, fucking, and that's corner work in the century, that, isn't it? Like, brilliant, fucking excellent, that. Jesus Christ. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about another question before I start talking.
So it was Crolla, Reese, Selby, Perez. You were
Yeah,
Selby was the one we forgot. That was the one we forgot. Who was the? I remember, Paul, you asked this yesterday when we was on the phone, but I'll ask it again for the listeners. Who hit the hardest?
I think Perez was just naturally so heavy-handed. It was frightening, to be honest. You know, when you think if one lands here clean, he's going to put you asleep without a shadow of doubt. Now, I'm the furthest thing from Chinny that you can ever imagine. But in saying that, the hardest single punch I ever got hit with was Jamie Cox.
Right.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I remember Jamie floored me. I can't remember if it was a second or third. Mate, I didn't know where I was until after that final bell went. Until I got back to that change room and I thought, wow, I'm actually here. Like, you know, I actually got through that. But Jamie Cox hit me so hard. It was unbelievable. Clean. Jamie could really punch, like, you know, frightening, really. You know, he caught me clean, bang on the button. How I got up before the count of 10, I'll never know. It was shocking.
One of the fights that we sort of talked about offline, me, you, and Callum yesterday, that I'd like to talk about again because it kind of dispels a lot of myths. A lot of people have talked about Bradley Skeet and that, you know, he just throws a jab out and he doesn't have much sting in his punch. Tell us about the fight you had with him.
We only took the fight purely and simply because people was telling me that Bradley had no sting in his shots. Now, obviously, Ryan Taylor is a good friend. I think he might have boxed Brad in the amateurs. I knew Bradley's amateur background as a top amateur, but a lot of these pro guys, like guys I trusted, Brad's got no power whatsoever, Brad, like you'd be fine with him. We knew Brad was too big. I can assure you, Brad has got power. And when you're caught on the end of an arm that's 6 foot long, straight down the button, you know, that snapping his elbow snaps, and you're caught on the end of even his jabs, Brad has got power, mate. Let me assure you. Brad has got power. He really has.
I just want to say something to the listeners there. Johnny's not slurring his words. His internet connection's a bit shite, so it keeps now and then it's sort of like you'll be saying a word and it will go roar like that. So let me just assure everyone, Johnny Greaves speaks crystal bloody clear, and I can guarantee you that right now. And so yeah, if you are hearing the odd sort of slurred word, blame it on, I don't know, Virgin or Sky, whoever the hell's providing his broadband there at the moment, you know. So but yeah, no, I can only imagine. I mean, you're what, 5'9", Johnny?
Yeah, if that 5'8", 5'9", yeah.
Yeah, so Bradley's about what, 6'1", 6'2"?
Something like that. Brad, like I say, boxed with his style as well. He was, you know, shoulder forward. You know, everything was pinging off that big long jab he's got. I think I remember saying to you yesterday offline, when that first bell goes, both fighters normally dance around the middle of the ring. You know, a bit of a fair distance away from each other, and you're thinking, like, I'm safe at the moment, you know, I'm ducking and diving. Well, Brad pinged this jab out. It felt like Brad must have been 6-7 foot away from me at the time. This jab landed right on the end of my Uta. You know, one of the ones that make your eyes water. And I thought, right, this is going to be a proper long night. This, I thought, here we go. Mate, that was probably one of the only 2 real beatings I got in my career, to be fair. Right, so yeah, Bradley, and I'll tell you who the other one was if you ask me.
Go on then, mate.
What was that other one?
That was Liam Walsh. Liam, fantastic fight. There was a few, not reason why, because it would have maybe have gone the same way regardless. But I was supposed to be fighting Chazza Simmons, that same night at about 10 stone 7, 10, 8. On the Monday, Chaz pulled out for whatever reason, some injury or something. So then a few hours later, Cole Greaves phoned me up and he said, look, we've got a fight for you if you want it, against Liam. But you got to be sort of under 10 stone. Can't remember specifically what it was. But basically, I had 4 and a bit days to drop best part of a stone. Now, if you would have seen my figure, now it's a little bit different. I've got a little bit of fat around. And then, I had nothing on me. So, as irresponsible and stupid as it was at the time, for 4 days, like, I'm going out training in sweat bags, black bags, plastic suits, this, that. Now, Rob's coming home. Now, my missus, like, obviously from me telling, not through her, but serving me up like 1 or 2 ice cubes for me dinner, just literally so I had something to bite down on and chew on. By fight time with Liam, it was, after 1 round, I barely had the energy. Obviously, Liam was everything he threw, so accurate, man. He doesn't, not a massive one-punch banger. Don't get me wrong, he had respectable power, but not Lee. I wouldn't have classed him as a banger compared to some of the other lads I've been in with. But he didn't miss much, and there was fair power there. So when you take that for 2 or 3 rounds, mate, I was struggling badly. In the end, I think it's dipped down to his side. 1 body, 1 head, same hand, and do you know what? I couldn't stand. I couldn't take no more. So that, as long as that and the Bradley Skeet fight was the only times I believe, or I know for a fact that I was beaten up, or when I thought to myself, this is an hard game. Other than that, cuts and quite a few silly stoppages. Like ridiculous stoppages. Am I talking too much, or you want me to carry on?
No.
I mean, fine.
For those listening, Liam Walsh has only had 1 loss in his entire career, and that's been against Gervonta Davis. So he's a bloody good fighter. But I mean, you fought him in June 2008. You then fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times before the end of the year, and you then fought his brother Ryan Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan was another one I said earlier on. Well, I boxed Ryan. Obviously, I think his opponent or 2 had pulled out on the day. They had no one for me to box. I'd actually done the 6th round spar with Ryan Taylor that morning. Come home with a can or 2 of beer, a few Bensons. The phone went. I think the fight was all finally agreed at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was actually bouncing about by about 6:30. And Ryan, again, a good fighter, mate. Very good fighter. I think he improved a lot the further he went in his career. Yeah. But at the time, not a very good little fighter. I could never knock him because not only is he a top fighter, but the whole family are gentlemen. Michael is one of the best mates I've got in boxing now. We still speak. Ryan or Liam, they're both pucker geezers, like really nice fellas. What a really nice family. Even their trainer Graham Everett. What a pucker team. Honestly, if I was a winning fighter and would like to go with a good trainer with a good team, I'll go over to Everett because he's a spot on geezer. He really is.
Yeah. You the same year that you fought Gavin Rees. I mean, in fact, just to say for the records, you fought 20 times in 2009. I mean, it's a proper sort of, like I write stuff for British Vintage Boxing where I'm going through records of fighters from 100 years ago, which were kind of doing that. So to hear me say that now, 2009, you fought 20 times, is sensational. And the same year that you fought against Gavin Rees, about a dozen fights before, you also fought Lee Selby in Newport as well. What was Lee like?
Yeah. Well, Lee was another one because Lee was just ridiculously sharp. Now back then, because I didn't do a lot of getting floored. I didn't really go down. I always got a fantastic chin, but I think it was the first round come out. Lee's another one. Then we throw a shot, boy, slips it, caught you, boom. I'm sitting on my pants. I thought, fucking hell. So up you get, and you think, I don't know where that come from, like, you know. Again, a little while later, boom, same thing happens. I'm on the floor twice in one now. I thought, fucking hell, like, that just don't happen. But I think the last round, I think I even got a draw or something. The last round, I'm not sure what the score was, but after that, I sort of figured out how he was, you know, I figured out his movements, this, that, and that. When I got through it was all pretty much straightforward. But I don't think there was any other fighter in the past that got put me down twice in the same fight. I think Lee was the only one. I'm sure he was.
You'd had an almighty gap from your previous fight before you did fight Lee. You had full 12 days, mate, you know?
Wow.
Which is incredible. Against you fought against Phil Gill at the Troxy, which I love. The Troxy, it's great atmosphere. It's one of the few places where they still got that shitty old carpet in there, nightclub carpet, where as you walk, if your shoelaces on, you're going to leave your shoes on the carpet because it's that sticky.
Yeah, that's it. Again, me and Phil are mates now, no problem at all. That first fight we had, me and Phil, I did feel that I deserved something out of it, but you know, so that's another story. But I know Phil would disagree. But no, nothing against Phil. He's a top lad. Like, so I've seen him quite a few times since our fights on the circuit and in a couple of gyms. Lovely boy. I like Phil. I've got a lot of time for him.
Yeah.
After you fought Lee Selby, was it a case like the Gavin Rees one? Did you have to jump in the motor quick and get out of there a bit rapid?
No, to be fair, I mean, after boxing, what was it, the Lee Selby one? No, I don't think it was. It was London's job. But I didn't give a man because I'll get to the bar, get myself a pint, have a snack in my hand, and just think, fuck it, I'm getting out regardless. So I just walk out. I weren't too shy. I think even then I was getting quite well known by even a lot of the people that was going to the shows. Most shows I was going to, I was boxing on the bill. I think even Dan Naylor would tell you. I can't remember where he was now. He was up north somewhere else. Dan Naylor boxed a fight and they had a right good scrap. We come out and I had about 30 young kids, all locals. We was like up there on the end of the country. And they was all screaming, singing like there's only one Johnny Greaves and stuff, like, you know, but that was celebrity stuff, that was fantastic. And that was like, Dan Naylor will tell you that, he'll assure you that's a true story. So no, I think back then, the further I went in my career, because I was boxing some of these top lads on every show you can imagine, most people knew who I was. I was lucky enough to box a real good caliber of opponent on so many arena shows as well, like stadium shows, arena shows. I was pretty well known in the game by then. So most of the people, even when I was boxing one of their lads, they knew what I was all about. They knew I was a wind up. I knew I was going to give it the old wanker signs behind the fighter back. It's true. It's what I used to do. It's one of my things. Like, you know, you're behind the back and behind, you know, you give it one of them. That's the way I played it. And most people, the majority of people, sort of laughed at that, and they knew I was having a bit of a wind up anyway. So they left you alone. It was all right.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I've got to say, I'm going to let Callum jump in a bit with a question here, because I've been hogging it. But you had 100 fights in boxing, but am I right to think tonight is your debut on video Skype?
I think so. I think so.
There we go.
None of that.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever done anything on Skype. No, I'm pretty sure I haven't, because I was trying to work out. He was telling me how to get it working yesterday, and I couldn't do it. So yeah, I think it is. It's Skype debut. Yeah.
There we go.
None of that Amir Khan stuff, then, Johnny.
It's a what?
There was that business around Amir Khan, and he got caught on Skype.
Yeah, really, yeah. It's not a bit of me, that, to be honest with you. It's not a bit of me. Me and the missus looks after me like that. I'm okay. Right, this Jim be watching this going, no, I don't, you fucking liar. We've got 2 kids.
Thank you so much for your time today, Johnny. We're just coming up to the hour mark now, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that over COVID you've been doing a lot of corners and stuff lately. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been working on all the Frank Warren shows. Been doing all the Frank Warren shows. Love working. That's a blinding little job, a blinding little number there. I'm only a second, but I've done a few. I do get asked me advice in some corners there. Done a couple of cuts jobs on a couple of other shows. So yeah, I'm there. I'm at the shows. If they do need someone to jump in and do someone's cuts, or if you're jumping as a main corner man, I'm good to go. But the best jobs in boxing, I think, is being a second on the Frank Warren shows. I do the home corner now, because I've been doing those for a good 12 years now, maybe even more. So I worked in some of the best corners regarded in world boxing. I've worked in, even Tyson Fury spit bucket and stuff like that in the past. But even for my own benefit of it, I get to listen to so many of the good cornermen, some of the world's best cornermen, and some of the advice they give and the way they treat their fighters and the way they talk to them. So I'm always learning. I'm not just holding a spit bucket. I'm there to learn. I get the best. I'm a massive boxing fan. I get the best seat in the house, and I'll get paid a little drink for it. So to be fair, what's not to love? It's the best job in the world. I love doing it.
Mate, your sincerity and humbleness is absolutely oozes. And you mentioned getting a drink out of it. I'll tell you what, once this COVID all clears up, we'll get a few of us together down the pub, and we'll have a few, definitely.
I'm 100% up for that, mate. Absolutely.
That sounds good.
Hopefully we can get this COVID over and done with. It's getting to the point now. Like I say, lost Dad now. Mate, I just want it over and done with, and to be a part of our lives. We can all just stick in the closet and just move on, because it's getting hard work mentally, physically, work wise, the whole lot of it. So it's been a horrendous time for me and many others.
Just to say, while we got you on here, you're London's probably number one decorator. No job is too big, too far. So if there's anyone out there who is not only a boxing fan but also needs a decorating job done, call up Johnny Greaves. He's your man.
Absolutely. Message me on Facebook and we'll go from there. We've got numbers and we'll go from there. But thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
There we go. He can not only will he decorate your house, but if you ask him a few questions about his career as well, you might even share a tale or two, So it's a win-win situation.
Definitely 100%. You asked me and I don't stop talking, as you now know.
No, we're so grateful for your time today, Johnny. I've written down a million things. And I think there was a lot I wanted to talk about today, and we've covered some of it. But I think it's only right that we get you back at some point, and we have you back again.
Anytime you like.
Yeah, and I think the next time we do it, we're going to do it in person. I'll bring the mic, I'll bring the recorder, and we'll all get together, like Paul said. We'll all get together and we'll do
it in a pub.
we've done it in a pub. We've done it in worse places, Johnny, mate.
Joking.
We've done it in worse places. Don't worry, mate. We've done it in worse. Fucking hell. One of our highest rated podcasts we recorded in a Starbucks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every couple of minutes or so, we were talking about Wilder Fury 1, and while myself and Mark Butcher were debating the fight, every now and again you just hear because the steamer was going off. But it did the cappuccino. Yeah, it did the biggest, one of the biggest numbers we've ever had. So it's all about the content, and it's all about the quality of the people that we've got on. And Mark Butcher's one of those, and you're one of those high quality people as well. So thank you so much again for your time today.
Much appreciated. And anytime you want to speak to me, I'm always here. Thank you.
All right, nice one, Johnny, mate. Take care.
Nice one, mate.
Should I put this down now?